Hi, I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome to AccessTV.org, One Hartford. We got a brand new thing going on this evening. We have a women's panel. We're going to be talking about everything in Hartford. So if you live in the city of Hartford, be sure to tune in to AccessTV.org. If you don't live in the city of Hartford and want to be tuned in to what's going on inside the city of Hartford, we invite you also to tune in to AccessTV.org on your telephone or on your computer from home, at work, wherever you can access us, do. We're a grassroots network organization, and we're making sure that we bring it right to you. This is Winch, and I have with me two other guests from the city of Hartford. We have Alyssa and Barbara. They're going to introduce themselves and tell you just a little bit about what they do in the city of Hartford. It's just too much. You're not going to believe it. Just stay tuned. So who wants to go first? All right, Alyssa, go ahead.
Alyssa Petterson, resident of the South End of Hartford.
All right, we'll get into more about what Alyssa does in a minute. Let's just let her get the jiggles out, all right? So let's go to Barbara. Barbara, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Actually, I live in Weathersfield.
Right, I was just going to say that.
And I'm a lawyer, but I spend a lot of time in Hartford because the courthouse is in Hartford. I also have the privilege of serving on the Commission of Grandparents Raising Grandchildren. And I have been involved in the Commission on Children at the legislature. So I spend a lot of time in Hartford.
And you're also an endorsed Republican running for office.
I am. I'm running for the 1st State Senatorial District against John Fonfara for the 4th time.
Mm-hmm. And this is really, really interesting because, Alyssa, you're also
I am going to be entering the race as an independent. Yep, very shortly, getting my signatures and entering for the fall. Yep.
All right, so
I've decided that.
We're going to have three candidates. You're going to have 3 candidates running.
But we have a common
Senate.
end. We have a common end.
Yes, we do.
We've got a common goal to end someone else's tenure. So
28 years is too long.
Yeah. So.
All right, and then you all know that I'm pro-woman. Anything that we want to do, I'm pro that. I think that a lot of times we make the decision to elect guys to go ahead and run in office or get elected to office to kind of do what it is that we can do basically for ourselves. Because if we have female needs that we got to deliver to him, if I have those needs, I don't need to tell you what they are. Right. You already know. And when you're elected and you're sitting in office, you know the things that are facing women and children and households and those kind of things that need to be happening. So what drives either of you to want to run for the office?
Well, I've been running because I felt John was not being challenged. It's a tough seat for a Republican. The running joke that I tell people is that there are 1,800 Republicans in Hartford and 900 of them are dead. So
are the dead ones still voting?
Probably. So
it's Hartford. Of course, of course they're still voting.
But I feel very strongly that nobody should run unchallenged. I'm really getting to the point in time where I think we need term limits. I think that what should happen is that House seats should be 4 years, state Senate seats should be 6, 3 House terms, 2 Senate terms, and you're done. I mean, we've had people that have been there for so long and nothing's getting done.
People seem to get elected to the seats and think that they should die in office,
right.
Basically what you're saying. Right. Alyssa, how do you feel about that?
I think you could double that and say maybe 6 years and 10 years or 8 years. But I think we could copy what other states have done. And I think other states have done maybe 12 years, 14 years, it depends. But I think Barbara's point is well taken. He's been in there far too long, unchallenged. It's the Democrats, of course. Well, I don't want to be mistaken there. Ed Vargas has certainly challenged him on, during primaries. But I think, if I'm correct, Barbara, there's never been a woman state senator.
Not from the first.
Not from the first. Was there one in the second? I don't know that there was.
I don't know. And you see,
I don't think there's ever been a
woman
woman state senator.
So.
This would be a first.
Our current state senator has been there for more than 32 years. So prior to him, I think it was it Senator Wilbur Smith. was in there prior to. So I don't know that we've had a
I don't
state
think we've
senator
had a female state senator from Hartford. So it's time. It's time for a variety of reasons.
And the thing is, frankly, what happened is most of Wethersfield is now in the first. Half of Hartford and most of Wethersfield. The only part of Wethersfield that's in the 9th is around Paul Doyle's house.
Mm-hmm.
Gee,
and how close is that to Hartford?
I wonder who drew that line. Yeah, maybe.
Who drew the lines?
And at one time, Wethersfield was entirely in the 9th. I mean, to me, it makes no sense. Wethersfield has 2 state senators and 2 representatives. Hartford has a similar breakup, I think.
Well,
it makes
we
more
have
sense.
Well, I think we've lost population over the years. Nobody wanted to acknowledge it. I think, we had a couple different census, totals, and finally they said we've got to do something about it. And the way they drew it to protect certain people, and I don't think anybody would agree that it's fair. Does Hartford need 2 state senators? No, we probably could just have one for all of Hartford.
You probably could do it one if they just did Hartford alone.
Well,
but they also are representative of Bloomfield and Windsor.
Right.
On that side, on the second senatorial, and in the first, they're Hartford and Wethersfield.
And I think there's somewhat of an inherent conflict because the needs of the city are somewhat different from the ring communities.
Oh.
I mean, I think my attitude has always been that, it's important for the ring towns to be involved and committed to Hartford.
Right.
And, my family and I have belonged to Grace Lutheran up on Woodland Street for over 30 years. So we're involved in the city in that regard also.
I know you spend a whole lot of time in
you
Hartford.
You do spend a lot
I
of
do
time
spend
in
a lot of
Hartford.
time.
Yes. And you come to our NRZ meetings, and the two
I was
of you...
going to mention the 6th district.
Yeah,
You're over there a lot. Because I know when I come and see you, most of the time when I see you, it's in the 6th district at the NRZ meetings.
Yeah. But you two were on the grandparent panel together, right? Or the commission? Or
No. Barbara was on the commission. I do grandparent child care.
Okay.
So I do an in-home child care with the
But
union,
you were both
SCI
involved in
local.
getting the legislation forward,
Absolutely,
were you not?
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Not very heavily, but I always have my finger in something.
Okay.
Because when it comes to kids' issues, that's my passion.
Yeah, and that was another
That
issue
was where
too.
we really ran into each other.
Exactly.
You had a commission on children's issues for a short time, and you had invited me.
absolutely. No, absolutely. And we finally got our union passed. And so, I mean, even getting there, it was surprising to us to find out that men on the House side and on the Senate side, well, why do you need a union? Well, if we're taking care of kids from 6:30 to 5:30 at night, when are we going to organize ourselves? So, again, there's an issue that if you were, there, or Barbara was there, you would not have said, well, why do you need to organize? Like, duh. You need to organize and have somebody help you to organize because you're taking care of kids from 6:30 to 6:30, morning to night. So when would you organize yourself to get to the house?
Now, is that going to be affected by the new law?
You mean the Supreme Court decision?
I'm sorry, the Supreme Court decision.
That had to do. I thought that had to do with personal care attendants.
Personal care attendants.
Is that the Harris? Is that the Harris case?
But they're not part of an agency. So, but they were going to be members of of the union anyways. So are your members individual? Are they part of an agency?
No, they're part of SCIU because SCIU has more than 65,000 members and they break out in different branches.
I haven't read the Supreme Court decision, but they basically said because there were CNAs that were.
They said you don't have to pay
unionized.
dues. That's what it was. So it's strictly limited to you don't have to pay dues if you don't want to. But I certainly think you'd want the benefits of.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. We have more than 4,500 child care providers, in-home child care providers in the state of Connecticut. Alone, 1,000 of them live in the city of Hartford.
Wow.
So,
I didn't either.
1,000 of them live in the city of Hartford. So, no, we want to have every single member that we can have. And the dues is not going to be more than 5% of what you get from Care for Kids. So, if you have 5 kids, it'll be whatever that is. If you have no kids, then you won't pay any dues for the duration of the time that you don't, have kids. So that way you won't be constantly paying out. So it's funny, the state is saying, well, we can't find a way to withdraw those funds, so people might have to write checks, in. But I'm like, wait a minute, it's oxymoron. It's 2014. You can just add another, character. It's like, setting your cell phone to contacts or, favorites.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Well, I would think one of the things.
You're the program.
Trust me, I've offered to do the job.
You're the program.
I've offered to do the job for them. It's just too crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I would hope that if the union, what it would do is look at some of the regulations and how the daycare providers are treated. I mean, I had a case years ago where a daycare provider lost her license because, let's see, she only had infants up to 6 years old. 6 months old, I'm sorry. And they discovered that she had medicine on the second floor in the top shelf of the linen closet, and the closet wasn't locked, and they took away her license. I mean,
Yeah, but I'm saying,
but that's
it's
just
ridiculous
someone
stuff
going
like
after
that.
her.
No. She's right. There are ridiculous laws like that. Like, say you don't have a gate on your backyard, they will shut you down if you don't.
That's a good law to have.
But you're taking care of infants. What you need a gate for?
Oh,
They're not going outside
Point
to play.
taken. Right. Okay.
You know, they're not going anywhere unless you're carrying them.
But at
or
any
pushing
point,
them.
you could take care of someone older than 6 months. But
But you
I
could,
get
but
your
you
point.
don't.
You can be killed by the regulations. That's your point.
No, exactly. And they've never
Right.
been updated since
Right.
the 80s. So,
Yeah.
I mean, even the care for kids that people apply for have not been updated since,
Right.
the 80s. So, like, you need to have, if you're going from a in-home child care and you want to upgrade to group or something, you're going to have, got to have a dentist on call, a nurse on call. Nowadays, you dial 911, they're showing up. So why do you need that stuff? It's just outdated kind of, crazy
see
stuff
that.
like that. So a lot of that, now that they went over to the Office of Early Childhood, we're going to be going in there having those kind of, conversations. And hopefully you guys, one of you, so I wish it was going to be both of you if you were in two different districts. One of you hopefully is going to get elected. And we're going to be able to come here and sit and, have that conversation.
Yeah.
well, I think that's really one of the things I look at is there's so much overregulation in the state government. I mean, I deal with the Department of Children and Families, and some of their stuff is just crazy.
Oh, let's not even go
we
there.
don't even want to go there.
No, we
and
don't.
then
Let's go there.
Listen.
we don't have enough time.
We
to
don't
talk about
have
that.
enough time in one segment
We
to
could
go there.
spend
But you know
another
what?
5 hours
Over
talking about
over
DCF.
time, No, over time we're
Yeah.
going to get there because I think I agree with you, Barbara, that DCF is something that really needs to be revamped. And I guess we're going to have to start, with the laws to say, okay, because I'm convinced, haven't been a foster parent for a long time, in the last 2 years, it's been 2 years since I've not done foster care, that I'm convinced that you cannot raise a child that you don't live with. And DCF does a really, really good job of trying to empower children in adult homes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, you're 16 and you want to just live on the streets? Be our guest.
Oh,
but
wow.
if your parents put you out, they can get arrested. I mean,
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? It's crazy
It's
stuff like
crazy
that.
stuff like that. The other thing is that I think a lot of child care providers, one of the things they run into is they don't even know they're on the DCF abuse registry till they go to apply for a license. There's something like 70,000 people on the child abuse registry. And until maybe 10 years ago, people didn't get notice and weren't able to challenge that.
Right, because whatever the child
Is that
says.
published anywhere?
No.
I mean,
No, you have to. But if you apply for a job, you apply for a certain kind of license,
Then it's
they
gonna
have
come
access
up.
to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did once send. I once had a bad day, and I sent the commissioner a certified letter saying I wanted to FOA the child abuse registry. And I got this.
Did she send it to you?
I got this very polite phone call back from someone I know in central office, laughing, and they said, "Barbara, it's not really a list.
Yeah, it's not.
like in the computer somewhere, and it's protected.
It's
confidential."
But it's confidential, but can affect your life. That's
exactly. And not only that, but look how you get there.
outrageous.
Look how
That's
you get
outrageous.
there. You get there when a child that you're caring for says something that doesn't have to be proven.
Right.
See, so then they automatically, put you on, this registry that says, and they have like strict categories: neglect, abuse, whatever,
Right.
and there's no gray areas. So if it's neglect, it's neglect. If it's abuse, it's abuse. If it's whatever, it's whatever. So I mean, I don't understand how you neglect a 17-year-old kid. It's
or
just
abandon
very,
them.
very hard. Or abandon. How can you abandon a 7-year-old kid? It's just not
Anybody who
possible.
does foster care, it's incredible work. It really is.
Right.
It's-
No, it is, and it doesn't have to be as hard as it is. I think that the laws make it more harder than it really is, and it's almost impossible.
Weren't they trying to streamline
are.
them?
It's
so
gotten
we're not
better.
sending children out of state, so we're not spending all this
but
money.
But that's not true
That's-
either. That's not true either. That's
Well,
not
the other,
that's
the
not
other
true
thing
either.
is that they're not sending children out of state to places that they need to go because there's such specialized treatment facilities that we don't have.
Yeah, but look at this one. Look how horrific this is. They will send, and not will send, have sent. My sister does foster care still. And her
Good for
14 year, but check this out, 14-year-old foster daughter got adopted by a family somewhere out of state. 14 years old.
Oh, they shouldn't.
Okay, you're getting adopted into a household where there's a husband and there's a wife and then there's 2 other little bitty kids. I mean, just being a woman, can you just foresee how horrific that's going to be?
Well, that's sad for the if the child's been with your sister for how many years? That's very sad. They wouldn't leave her with your sister. I don't get
Well,
it.
I don't know. No, because if they're up for adoption, she's foster caring for them.
Oh,
so
I
if you're
see.
not going to be an adoptive parent, then they look for adoptive parents. But at 14,
I see.
Would you send your daughter to a total stranger's house to live at 14?
Well, see, there's financial incentives for the department to finalize the adoptions. They
so
get
sick of
money
hearing
from
that.
they get money.
It
from the
is.
feds.
It's
And what happens is you deal with some of these children who have extraordinarily difficult issues, and they get adopted, and they're impossible to live with. So the parents come back looking for help, which the department doesn't give them.
And they don't give it.
And
Because
then
now
the-
you bought it, it's yours.
Yeah, and so then the parents say, well, I can't keep the child. And then they get charged with abandonment or abuse or neglect, and they free the child for adoption, and they can get more money by readopting the child. Now, do I know statistics on it? I don't.
But I will tell you that I will just go on the line to say that DCF has a more failure rate than a success rate. Because long time ago, I don't know if you all remember when they would call it something else. It wasn't DCF, but they would go into the home to work with the parents to be able to nurture and care for their children.
or is the need grown so great we just can't afford that in the state anymore?
Well, the problem is this, is they drop atom bombs on mosquitoes and they miss the big stuff.
Yeah.
That's
No. I know that's a great way to put it.
I'm going to use that
is
line.
great. That is absolutely a great way to put it. Because listen, if you take care of the parent, then you're going to be able to take care of the child in the home. But you're trying to parent somebody else's child in somebody else's home. It's impossible.
And this business about not sending kids out of state, if we were the size of Texas and we were sending kids to Washington State, I could understand that.
Right.
Here we are in little Connecticut, and they have these great programs in Massachusetts that we can't send the kid to because it's out of state. And we don't have providers in state, and we make life so difficult for the providers that they don't want to do it.
All right, so enough of beating up DCF. We
Okay.
could do this
We'll
all
do
day
that day
long,
and night.
forever
I'm having
and ever
fun.
and
This is
never.
good.
I'm telling you, but listen, but there's so
I
much
know,
more fun stuff to
but
get
I
to.
know. This is a topic that you two are, very.
Oh, yeah, but
aware
we
of.
can do
Let me
this
talk-
for life. We
let
can
me-
do this for life.
we could do it. One of the things that I'm really interested in terms of the Senate run is there are a variety of taxes that are levied where it costs more to collect the taxes than they actually collect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things I think the legislature should do is start at the front of the statute books and look at every single statute and say,
But
do
they
we really
did, though.
need this?
They did do a cleaning of the statutes. That was
Not
the last.
enough.
Maybe not enough, but they did a start in the last session. They said trying to get rid of extraneous laws in the books. Maybe that would include taxes too.
Yeah,
But,
That's also in school.
but I think taxing in
magnet school
Hartford
ratios.
that's the bigger issue. Is taxation in
Exactly,
Hartford.
because you have your auto and your property.
It's outrageous, and I think,
Well, and Hartford has such a low rate of owner-occupied houses. That's really a
Right,
problem.
right,
That's
right.
really, really a problem.
It's very, very transit.
And what I don't understand with these banks is the foreclosures. There have been so many foreclosures, and instead of the banks going to people and saying, what can you pay? Okay, well, we'll do. I mean, a high interest rate on money you're earning is 1%.
Right.
So if they charge, say, 2 or 3% and have the mortgage go out 60 years, they're still getting their money every month.
Yeah, but
they
look
have
what they'd
someone
rather
living
do.
there.
They'd rather sell the home, short sell it to somebody else, rather than, why don't you just short sell it to the person who's already occupying the home?
Well, and short sales take months and months and months. People go for mortgage modifications. Sometimes those are helpful. But there's so many foreclosed properties, it makes no sense. And the banks should just say, okay, we'll charge 2% and send the mortgage out 60 years, and the people can cover that. Because the thing is, if they sell the house before the mortgage is paid off, so what? The bank gets its money.
Exactly. So on the state level, what is some of the things that you all think, can help? Are there some laws that prohibit that from happening?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it's more negotiating with the banks, because one of the problems is we're so overregulated in business, and we have so many little taxes here and there. It's driving business people out.
But I think another issue in Hartford is the tax lien sales. I mean, they've really hit the north end of Hartford.
I would tell you,
Terribly.
Absolutely 100%.
Terribly.
And
they did an investigation of it, and I mean, to their credit, Mark Nelson, our the tax collector, made some changes, so it's not under $1,000.
He didn't have a choice. Let me tell you why. Because last year,
because you threatened him.
Last year when this list came, I'm also the president of a multicultural community organization.
Well, you were our former president of the council,
and former president of the Hartford City
I hope you know
Council.
something after all these years.
Yeah, one would think, right? But women, we stupid. I love it. So last year we got wind of that. We looked at exactly that, because they had a little beautiful diagram. We had a whole committee,
right?
Talking about selling off the tax liens. And be like, well, wait a minute. Like 75% of these tax liens are in one community in the city of Hartford.
Right.
So where's all these other people? Like nobody else got.
Well, it's one group of people that were going after them aggressively. And then what's interesting is now they've expanded to Bridgeport. And I think once the other cities get, whacked, or Waterbury, now all of a sudden they'll say, oh, this is a terrible issue in Connecticut. Why aren't we doing something about it?
Listen, Waterbury,
so,
if you have that problem
or Bridgeport.
in your city and town, Waterbury, Bridgeport, New Haven,
right.
Listen, call me.
Right.
860-462 5063. We'll get right to your house, get you right to your city hall, and fix that problem.
No,
that's exactly what we did.
What's interesting is I am tangentially involved in a case, and a house was sold in a tax lien, and there's the court is now holding some $48,000 that these people are going to get, this husband and wife, to divide up. I mean, and they didn't.
Because it went to sale.
It went to sale.
I see. But was it their home? Are they out of their home now, or no?
I was going to ask that question. Were they out yet?
Home. Yeah, they were. She was out, I think, maybe 6-8 months ago.
Wow, so they still.
But that's
lost
a rarity.
Home.
That's a rarity. What you're really seeing are these. They're taking the house for small amounts of money.
$1,000, $1,000.
People don't have.
They don't have. But you know what? The problem is that the city still wants to do these, send out letters. And a lot of people get their little tax bills and stuff. They don't see it. Oh, City of Hartford. They throw it away. They don't know what it is. The mistake is that when people pay off their property, they don't realize for some reason that they still have to pay tax on the property. So a lot of these houses are like clear and free, only just owe that little $1,000, $1,500 worth of taxes that they just don't realize. Well, it's not little, but they don't realize that they could have made $100 a month payment and still kept their house.
Right.
But because they don't make mortgage payment, they don't know. That absolutely now he is. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, now he is.
Well, the other thing is...
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, now he is.
The other thing is, in some communities, what they have is the people have the ability to do volunteer work, to sort of work and reduce it. Yeah, I read about this in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, there's an ability of older people to do volunteer work to reduce their tax burden.
Wow. That would be
I do know there is a credit. If you're elderly or over a certain age, you can apply to have your taxes reduced. You can, because otherwise, if you think about it, your house is paid off, but you can't afford with your pension or whatever. You can't afford to stay in your home. That's insane.
Or people take out second mortgages, or even worse than that, people take out what's the other one?
The reverse mortgage.
The reverse mortgage. Let me tell you,
deadly.
I do not
those
advise
are deadly.
anybody to do a reverse mortgage.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I do too. Unless you have no family, to leave your house and your property to. Otherwise, don't do a reverse mortgage. I know a family that lives in front of me right now that their father died, I guess, a little bit more than a year ago. And they thought they put a beautiful fence up, everything. Oh my God, I felt so bad for them. Because they thought that when the father passed, the house would be paid off. But they didn't know that when the father passed, that the bank comes in and collect the home. So right now they're going through the eviction process to get them out of the home because now they no longer own it.
They didn't know that the father had taken a loan or something?
I don't know that they don't know it, but at the same time, I think that they didn't understand.
It's about
they didn't
financial
understand
education.
it. They did not understand how it works.
It's not going on in Hartford. It's so sad.
And the thing is, I was listening to something on NPR today, and they talked about, I think they called it a land bank. in the cities.
Yeah, exactly. People
Where
buy
actually-
property.
Detroit. It's happening in Detroit,
It-
right? I
and-
heard the same story.
And they, they buy up the property and they renovate
Right.
it, and people can move in. I think that really, we're talking about financial education.
It is. No, for you.
No, it is. It is. It really, really is.
And it
really
makes
is.
more sense, rather than the banks having these buildings be empty. Work with people.
Exactly.
Right.
Teach them how to open up a bank account. Teach them how to, this is what you have
No,
to
absolutely, absolutely. We got like about 5 minutes left. I cannot let us go without talking about the baseball field playing. And I know it's going to take us
it'll be
more than
more
5
hours.
minutes. It's going to take more than 5 minutes to discuss that. But I mean, how you feeling about, the baseball field, the whole idea of it? Is it really going to, bring jobs not only to Hartford but to surrounding towns?
We're gonna have
Weathersfield also.
We're gonna have a bond, and Weathersfield's gonna pay for it.
Sure.
Or is that how it's going to happen?
I
So
didn't tell
Weathersfield
you
has
that.
more money
It's
than Hartford?
It's a done deal, Barbara. Weathersfield's
And
paying
you've been
for it.
discussing it for more than 18 months, right?
Well, listen,
it's behind our backs.
Yeah. It's listen, I think the people are going to have their chance to speak, just like West Hartford had their chance to speak about Blueback, and they did. They had a referendum. They had 2 referendums, and the people did vote for it. But it was a $50 million bond. They had private money. They had public investment. It was a well-researched package. Unfortunately, it was a package that belonged down here at in the convention center area, in Front Street, but development. But I think the people are going to speak. We're going to have a referendum, and there's going to be no stadium. I'd like to see other development.
Yeah.
It's a good. This is
It does
all
need to be
brought
developed,
about
but however,
the
is that
need-
the right
no,
thing
it's
to go
brought
there?
about the need. We need to have a discussion now. My hope ultimately is that we can reconvene something with UConn and get UConn back in that parcel.
Yeah.
I don't think UConn ever had a chance to look at that parcel realistically, because I think behind the scenes, the city was looking at the stadium and they weren't participating in a discussion about using that parcel for a campus. And originally, UConn was going to spend $70 million. Now they're spending $130 million. So think about it. That differential, $130 million plus maybe $25 million in bonding from the city of Hartford, or $20 million from the city of Hartford. What a
Versus
fantastic
60.
campus, dorms,
Grass.
Grass. Well,
Trees.
Yeah, feet on the ground.
campus,
Yeah.
but small shops, just like they created a village out of nothing in stores. They've created you've created a whole shopping district in West Hartford at Blueback. It could be fantastic with that public-private partnership. I don't think it was never ever seriously looked at, because the city was saying, pss, 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 on the side, oh, we're saving that parcel for the stadium. I really think
stadium
it's
is just too
time
big.
to go back and look at it. And there's no problem if you can put a stadium. The president of UConn was so worried about safety. If it's safe enough for a stadium, it's safe enough for students and people.
So people
It's
to walk
outrageous.
to walk to get
I
Barbara.
think the stadium is just too massive for that parcel. I mean, it's not
No,
that big
no,
a
Barbara,
piece.
it's a perfect block to block off the north end. Okay,
Like
you
a
don't want
wall?
it. It's a
You-
big
you
wall.
want to
don't-
separate.
don't
You want to
wanna
separate the
it's
north from the south.
It's more of a block of the north end. It's outrageous. The stadium itself, and then there's 2 buildings to the side.
Beside.
It's
I marched one year with Governor Rell in the West Indian Parade up Main Street, and that was a real eye opener, because you go along and you see life, you see development, you see pieces of property being taken care of, and I think if people walked up Main Street, they would understand that there's something up there worth.
Oh, absolutely, and there's also a
Visiting.
change of culture. Not everybody sees Hartford from downtown. You got to get out into the different neighborhoods, and you all know this. As much as I
mean,
do.
I've
There's
traveled in a-
16 different neighborhoods.
Right.
Inside the city of Hartford, and all of them have their own unique
Flavor,
culture,
you're
their
right.
flavors, everything that they bring.
And I've been in a wide variety of neighborhoods of the city of Hartford, visiting kids that we represent, and I've never had reason to be afraid.
Yeah, I tell people, Hartford is the
it's
safest place to
exaggerated.
be. Well, yeah, it is exaggerated.
Totally
the stuff that's going
exaggerated.
on with the crime and all this,
It
the
happens-
violence and stuff in the
Happens
street.
between 1 and 4 in the morning.
Yeah, we're not out there.
No, we're not out
okay?
there. We're not out
And
there.
most of the people know each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
there's
right.
no drive by, hurting people. Like every now and then somebody will try to shoot at somebody, and they can't aim.
Oh,
so
you do that again on TV.
you know, nobody gonna ever hit a target like that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
like you know you don't know what you're doing. If that's the way you're trying
I think it's in a
you know, you end up hitting the wrong
areas.
people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's bad. It's bad. You know,
What
because
I find so frustrating is that Hartford and Connecticut were little, and we're little enough to fix. We just have to have the will.
That's a great point.
no, we are, and it is about the will. You know what? And it's about the elected officials, and it's about the people who sit in the House, and the Senate, and the Council, and the mayors. You know, of the 169 towns, you know, that we own, to actually do the work of the people who elected them to work.
Right.
So I'm so glad that both of you. You know, going to be running for Senate. I'm sad that both of you
It's
can't
gonna
get.
be, yeah.
Maybe there'll be a
Stay
co-Senate
tuned.
seat.
I promise
Yeah,
fireworks.
maybe there'll be a co-Senate seat. You know, where the both
Stay
of you
tuned.
can sit there. You know, one will kind of, you know, work. We'll have that transition plan. You know, that we're always talking about. Okay, well, Barbara, you know, you'll be there for 6 years, and then Alyssa take over. Vice versa, Alyssa, you'll be there for 6 years, and then Barbara will take over, so we can continue. You know, all the things that, you know, we want to see happening for, you know, our agenda.
However it gets done, a woman needs to take it
Right.
over
I
as a
agree.
state senator.
I agree.
in
No,
Hartford.
I agree. So all the men out there, listen, you could get mad if you want to, but listen, you've been out there for more than 50 years. So you know what? It's our time. You know, we ought to have an opportunity. We ought to have a shot at making something else happen, you know, for the residents of our communities. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to the first time that we have this group with One Hartford. But do come back and see us again on allaccesstv.org.